Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Marsha. It's been a while.
I know. We were just talking. It's been almost a month.
Yes, that's just is enough time to get a lot of stuff done. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been very busy.
Well, you were gone, and then I was gone, and yeah.
Yes, I went to the beach. Well, I can't remember. Actually, I think we recorded after.
Right after you got back, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but you were gone, and then I was just helping my brother, and I've been doing a little gardening, and I've been working on projects too. So,
all right.
Anyway.
Yeah, so we'll have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. But first we have a couple of messages we want to talk about, right?
Yeah. So we had a message from Caroline, and let me grab it because I wanted to just read it. She said, the graffitos look amazing and the curtains look perfect in your trailer. Thank you. That's so nice. She said, you were talking about weaving waste. This is a comment about episode 245, where we were talking about what you can do with weaving waste. And I thought this was interesting. This was one that I hadn't seen or heard from anyone else. She said, have you ever tried free machine embroidery on a sewing machine? You just need some water-soluble fabric, and you sandwich your pieces of yarn between. Then you raise the feeder foot on your machine, turn your stitch length to the longest setting, put your sandwich in an embroidery hoop, and just paint on top with your sewing thread. You can make all sorts, such as leaves, etc., to sew onto sweaters or anything else you fancy. You can add sparkly thread. You can even use your finished pieces as Christmas decorations. So I guess you're using you're sewing down the yarn. So you're using the yarn.
Oh.
You're using your sewing machine to sew down the yarn between the two layers of the soluble fabric.
Oh.
So when you get done, you have a little like applique that's made of yarn.
Oh, and then you wash it, and the water dissolves the fabric.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So yeah, that was an interesting one.
Idea.
I had not seen anything like that as a suggestion, and I thought, okay, that's really cool. I have not ever done that kind of sewing on my sewing machine with an embroidery hoop. But I think it would be kind of interesting to do, kind of fun. So thank you, Caroline, for that suggestion. I'm sure we have a lot of people who sew out there, so that might be something. If you sew and weave, you could use your thrums. And I think, they would work pretty well because they're kind of in bundles. Like when they come off, like if you don't cut the knots off, even if you do cut the knots off, they do kind of stay in the bundle of, the bout that you tie around.
Right.
They stay in kind of that bundle. And so you could make, you could lay those bundles next to each other and get a pretty solid, get something pretty solid if that's what you wanted.
Yeah.
So, and then the other one was from Jan, and she actually left this message on our thread for that episode 245. She says, I won't read the whole post, but she says, I knot them together and then I knit hats with the loose end sticking out all over the place. Wild looking, but still a warm hat. And she has a picture of the hats, and they're like little, not quite furry. We have a woman who walks in our neighborhood, and I think she has like 3 different colors of fur hats, kind of like a Russian style but not real fur. I think she has a blue one and a white one and a black one that she wears when she walks. So it doesn't quite look like that, but there's all little frilly things poking out on the top of the hat. And so instead of weaving in the ends, you just knit, and wherever the ends end up, that's where they end up. And so you have kind of a cute, it would make a cute hat for a kid, I think. Depending on
I saw that picture.
The color of yarn.
It's an interesting,
Yeah. So thanks, Jan, for that suggestion. I do sometimes save them for a while, but mostly I end up throwing them away. I sometimes I'll save just a few to use to tie. If it's a stronger yarn, I'll save just a few to use to tie the next project. Like if I need to tie, when you tie the warp at the end before you take it off the loom or something like that. But I remember too, of course, these were much longer pieces, but I remember a magic knot, something called a magic knot that I've never used. I never learned how to do it, but people were putting their sock yarn leftovers, into a ball, and then use a magic knot to knot the next one. And those magic knots are supposed to just hold without little ends floating out, right? So when you knit with it, you just kind of knit over the magic knot. It's like a ball of yarn without all those ends. I don't know how that works, and I haven't ever done it. And that was typically with a little bit longer, longer than Thrum's lengths of yarn. So, but anyway, thanks, Caroline and Jan, for your suggestions about weaving waste.
Yeah, interesting to try. Okay. Well, do you want to talk projects?
Sure.
First, or?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We can talk about our projects. A lot of my life stuff is in my projects. What's been going on recently is in my projects.
Okay, I'm going to scroll down here in the notes so I can follow along. Okay, so what's going on? What have you finished, or what are you making? Or
Yeah, so right now on my needles, as we're talking, I am knitting one of these Izzy doll bears. And I've knit so far 4 of them. And I have a picture I haven't put the faces on, I haven't put the ears on, but I have stuffed them, and you sew up the middle from the bottom up for the, the line between the 2 pant legs. And then you sew down from the shoulder down to where the pants start to make an indentation between the chest and the arms. And I have to say, I just think they are so cute. There's just something about the way they look sort of slouched over with their hands in their pockets. So I have a picture in my project pages of the 4 that I've stuffed. So I have 4 of them that I've stuffed.
Yes.
And then
I'm looking at them right now.
And aren't they cute? And then I have another 2 of them out of that same brown that I got from the D-Stash room. I have another 2 of them that I haven't stuffed yet. And I like the little ones, but I also decided to make some bigger ones. So instead of, I think it's 32 stitches around, I'm making them 36 stitches around, so they're a little bit bigger. And then I make them a little bit taller. I don't have any of I don't think, well, maybe the one on the right in the picture is a taller one. But anyway, I'm going along on these, and I finished that skein of brown yarn that I brought home from the Knockers retreat, and I'm using leftovers for their little shirts. Just, grabbing sock leftovers held double and stuff like that. I had some sport yarn that I am using. And so I've started on another skein of brown remember those reindeer I made for my mom? they were her project.
Yes. Yes.
Her crazy project.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a few different colors of brown left over from those reindeers, and so I dug that out, and so I'm making this next batch with that brown yarn from the.
I should send you the worsted. Actually, are you using worsted weight yarn or
this one
no?
is DK? This is one is DK, but you could use worsted. Yeah, you could basically use any.
Well,
weight
I would say
yarn.
I should send you the worsted weight yarn that I got from the D-stash room that I used for the face and belly of the hedgehog.
Oh,
because it's kind of skin toned.
Yes, sort of a furry.
I should send that down to you.
Furry bear color. Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
that would be really fun.
And I don't know if I have any of the fur stuff left, but
that's right.
Want that,
okay, you're talking about the face.
The face is just smooth worsted yarn.
Okay.
Well, and if I have the furry stuff left, I can send you that too. I don't know if you could use that for make it look like a bear. I guess,
right?
I could make with a little shirt on.
I wonder.
Could look like
you probably couldn't. It would be hard to make the indentation show. I think of the legs.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway,
I can, but I should definitely send you the other one because you could probably use that.
Yeah, I could. And so when Aunt Betty made them, I don't know if you remember, but the top of the head, she was making one when you were here for Knockers, the bears. The top of the head has decreases, right? And the decreases all slant the same way. So when you look at it from the top, you have these they're sort of curving, the decreases kind of curve around in a star shape. Well, the pattern has you picking up stitches along that ridge that the decreases make. And when you pick up on one side, it's curving the right way to make a nice little curved bear ear. And when you pick up on the other side, it's curving the other way. And so her bear ear looked kind of wonky, which I would just think, okay, it's kind of like Barry, right? This bear just has one wonky ear, but it was really bothering her, and so she stopped. She didn't finish it. So I'm going to experiment with what you need to pick up on the top of the head to make the ears a little bit easier to get them reasonably looking the same on either side, where you don't have where you don't have one ear pointing forward and the other ear pointing back, which was kind of what was happening. Which is kind of what was happening with hers based on the stitches that she was picking up. So so I'm going to do that, and then I didn't like. This is funny. I mean, it's a toy. What do you care about all these little details? But I also didn't like that when you get to the decreases, you have a knit one, and then you do like knit X number, knit two together, knit X number, knit two together, and then at the end you do knit one, right? Which makes sense if you're knitting something flat, because those two knit ones on the end will go into your seam. But I'm knitting it in the round, and the pattern I have is telling me to do that. It's like, okay, so that means you have a decrease and a knit X, and a decrease and a knit X, and a decrease and a knit X, and then two knit stitches between two decreases. Yeah. Like, that's weird. Right. So I changed that. So I don't do that. I don't do it that way anymore. I make sure I have a right number of the same, not even, but same number of stitches between all my decreases. I took off those two outside stitches that are knit stitches. Anyway, I've been kind of having a good time with these, using up scraps. And it's just, I have a project bag with a few different scraps in it, a few different needle sizes, depending on which scrap yarn I'm using. And so, but I don't want to get too far, because if those ears are a pain in the neck, it's going to kind of bother me that I have to do. So right now I have 4, 5, 6, 7 bears worth of ears to do. So,
And then you have to double that because that means you.
Yes, I have to do 14.
If you have 7 bears, you have to make 14 ears.
Yes. And then I thought, well, if I hate the if I hate the ears, I could just make them into little people, right? Just put faces on them. But then you don't have any pants on. I don't know why bears don't wear pants, but they don't. They're just bear color on the bottom and on the head.
Oh my gosh!
And also they don't have any hair. So I am committed to 14 ears, and then the whatever is the project where they take the Izzy dolls, only takes ones that are human, that are like people. Not animals. I also thought maybe I would just make long floppy ears. If the bear ears are a problem, I could just make floppy ears and have them be dogs, or rabbits or whatever. But I'm gonna take them to the table at Hartnell, put them on the Hartnell free table. That's where I'm gonna put them. So I'm not sending them anywhere. I'm just gonna take them down the street and leave them for student parents.
I'm just going to say something about the ears and the way the decrease is, what you were describing, how the ears go different directions. When I knit the hedgehog, I finished it and I realized the nose kind of points down. But the ones I saw images of them, the nose kind of pointed up, which makes it look more like a hedgehog kind of. I don't know. Anyway, I then started reading some of these, and people have changed the pattern. So they, and I can't really explain it because I did not do this, but it's almost like you cast on where the nose is, and then what they do is that they actually knit it sort of upside down, so that when they finish it, the head is actually upside down. So then the nose points up instead of pointing down. And then somehow they do something. So then they knit the belly, and mine was already done and I was not going to rip it out to change it. But it's interesting how someone will come up with a pattern design. It's really cute. But then people start like, well, I want the nose to point out. I want both ears to be the same. And so then people start modifying the test knitters, I guess, right?
Yeah.
The millions of test knitters out there go, wait, I'm just going to make this small little change, right? And, so yeah, it was interesting about that hedgehog.
And the thing about the toys is that they're like tiny little sculptures, and so you're like, oh, but I want this shape to be like this, and so then you have to figure out. That was kind of the same way with the amigurumi, the crocheted Star Wars figures. There are a couple of them that was like, okay, no, that shape isn't quite right. I need to rip it out and I need to do this. Of course, with crochet, that kind of ripping out and fixing that sort of sculptural quality is a little easier to get than it is with knitting. But yeah, I've been having a good time. I'll continue to do these for a little while until I get tired of them and go back to doing hats.
The other thing I'd say about that hedgehog too is the pattern's design where you cast on, I don't remember, 4 stitches, 5 stitches or something at the nose. That's where you start, cast on, and then you increase for the head. And then I can't remember now. Then you do the belly. Then you switch yarns and you start picking up and knitting across to form the back. And anyway, I wish it'd be nice if it was designed the other way. So you cast off at the nose or something, because you then have this hole that you have to figure out how to close, and then you take a black yarn and do a not duplicate stitch, but you just stitch over it to make the black nose, and it's a little bulky looking. It's kind of a Pinocchio nose, not the end of the world, but just kind of like, it'd be interesting, like darling pattern, but it's like. It's not a very elegant way to start it. Yeah. I mean, that's the way you start it, but it doesn't make a very elegant nose. But then how can a hedgehog have an elegant nose? But anyway.
I wonder if you started it with like a magic magic cast on.
Yeah.
Or a Turkish cast on, or one of those ones that that you use. I mean, a toe of a sock is not that as pointed as a hedgehog nose, but I wonder if one of those cast ons would work better.
I wonder too, just like using a smaller needles too.
Start like cast on with small needles. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway. Okay. Anyway, so
bears.
Enough about the hedgehog.
Bears and hedgehogs.
Hedgehogs and bears.
I don't know. Toys are interesting, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of possibilities for playing with your knitting more so than with the sweater, right? With a sweater, I wouldn't, because I'm not that good of a knitter. I mean, I don't have that kind of skill to know like, oh, I'm going to try this and this will make this different. And there's a lot more at stake, right? It's a lot more stitches, and the yarn is more expensive, and you have an investment in getting the project done, and you want to wear it or you want to give it to someone. Whereas with the toys, like, okay, if it doesn't work out, I have a little tube that I throw in the garbage, if it doesn't work, or I don't like it, or I can't make it the way I want it.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, honestly, with a toy, even if it doesn't look exactly the way I want it, someone will like it and want it, So anyway.
We will get off the toys, but I just want to say something. While I was working on that hedgehog, the one thing, which by the way, I gave it to my brother and he left for California last Friday, and guess what's still sitting in his room?
Oh my God.
Hedgehog here, so I think it's mine now.
Anyway, you had said you were going to wrap it in dish towels and pack it in his car.
I know, and I didn't do that. There was no room in the car. Anyway, I have a hedgehog now. I'll bring it down to him. But when I was knitting on that hedgehog, what I was thinking would be really fun, and of course, everyone's going to laugh when I say this because I have such a reputation on not finishing any of these toys. But do you remember a number of years ago, you made all the rats?
Yes.
For Kai? Mm-hmm. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to just knit a bunch of rats, and then you just tuck them around the house?
Oh, it was hysterical.
In your house, they're like, "Oh my God, it's a rat!"
One morning,
put them in the guest room.
One morning I had
them. When they.
Yeah. One morning I had them going across the top shelf of the stove. And even though I knew they were there, it's like every time I walked in the kitchen, it gave me a little bit of a start.
Yeah.
No, that would be
it's funny.
Fun. But, that would be really fun. Yeah. I had fun with those.
I just think it'd be funny too when guests come to stay and they go to get in the bed. There's a rat in the bed.
Oh, no one's going to want to come stay with you, Marsha.
Okay.
Just the little
now everybody
silhouette.
Knows my mean side.
Just the little, just the little silhouette, like that you catch in the corner of your eye of it, like sitting on a windowsill or something. I have to say, it was fun to have them before I got them all done and put them all in a box and sent them to Kai and Faye. It was fun putting them all around the house.
Okay. We are going to get back to projects, but this also reminds me of something else too. So when my brother was here, he wanted to iron some shirts. And I said, why don't you bring the ironing board upstairs? Because I like to watch TV when I iron, and I have a bunch of napkins I need to iron. So I said, just leave the ironing board upstairs. So he said, okay. So he leaned it up, as you go into the living room, there's like that archway, and he leaned the ironing board up against the wall in the living room, but a little bit goes over the archway, and it's like a dark navy blue, the cover on it. And I don't know how many times I will walk into the entrance hall to go out the front door to get the mail, get the newspaper, walk the dog or something. And I was startled. Like I thought it was a person there. So finally, after like the 10th time, I thought, you just need to bring this back down to the basement because it's scaring me. So funny.
That was so funny.
Anyway. Okay, back to projects. That was a complete rabbit hole we went down.
Yeah. A toy rabbit hole, a A hedgehog hole.
Yeah. It was a rat hole.
A rat hole, yes.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Speaking of rats, I'm going to go on. I'm going to go on another little tangent. Speaking of rats.
Oh, okay.
This will be short, but it's about the dogs. We started a barn hunt class, so we've been going for 2 weeks to learn how to find a rat in a tube in a barn. So that's been pretty fun. And the trainer said that there's a trial on the 28th of June. And she said she thought Barry would be the first week. We'll see what she thinks after, another couple of lessons. But she thought Barry would be ready to do the barn hunt and actually hunt rats in the barn hunt competition. So we might be doing that. It would be fun.
I have to ask a question, Kelly, and I don't know that I've asked you this question before. The rats, I know they're protected because they're in that tube, but aren't they scared, or do they use them over and over again? Do they get used to this?
Yeah.
Do they know that they're safe? Or
they actually train them.
Okay.
They're actually, conditioned to really like to go in the tube, and they're, slowly kind of introduced to having dogs sniffing them in the tube and having the tube, carried around, or having dogs around the tube. They're actually trained to be, to be able to do this. And then they have rules about how long the rat can be in the environment, and then they have to be given a break. And so they rotate the tubes in, and even with our training session, which is small, it's a short training session. I think she has 4 or 5 rats that she uses, in the tubes that she has out, that she switches, so that they're not, it's not one rat that's constantly being the tube rolls around a little bit, and so it's not just one rat that's there for the whole time. And then the other thing that I thought was super interesting when I started reading about barn hunt, because they have a lot of information about the rats and their welfare and the rules about them and stuff in the rule book, but also there are actually people that they actually breed these rats to be super laid back. Kind of like, if you're a poodle who's going to be shown in conformation, you need to be able to just lay there while they brush you out, comb you out, blow you out, braid your hair, poof you up, all that stuff, and some of that's training, or like Angora rabbits. You want an Angora rabbit who's going to be calm enough that you can just sit them on the plucking table and pluck their hair and blow them out, because they have to blow out the dander and stuff, and blow out the mats, to keep them from matting. And so, anyway, there are actual suppliers of these rats who have bred lines of these rats specifically for their laid back nature to be in this environment. That kind of blew my mind. I never really thought about it, I mean, I knew all about how they do, the other animals that I knew that they needed to, be bred to have that temperament, but actually the rats too. And so people who have them, breed new ones from the ones that are the best, tolerated, or, actually like it, enjoy the work. I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but the ones that want to get into the tube, because if they didn't like it, that tube would be something they were averse to, right? It's like, oh no, I have to get in that tube again. And so their willingness to go into the tube in the first place, is sort of an indication. Okay, that was a long rat hole, but anyway, barn hunt.
Well, I was just kind of curious, if you just took a random rat and stuck it in there,
they would
just
be
die
afraid.
of stress, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'd be afraid and they could just have a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So, okay. Okay, well, we'll get back to fiber and get off rats now.
So
people are squirming all this rat talk.
Yeah, and in the next episode, I'll talk a little bit about the trailing, the rat trailing work, because I'm going to go to a trial for that just to watch and see how that works. So anyway, yes, next project. So my sidewalk loom, I haven't talked about that in a while, I don't think, but I finally put the cloth apron on and the rods, and I cut all the Texolve and made all the loops that go around the rods and hold the apron beam, the cloth apron, and then there's a metal piece that goes, or there's a rod that goes through the apron. I'm actually using wood because I'm going to use the metal bar that Robert bought me on the back. And then, so I cut all the Texolve and tied it all on, and I cut Texolve for the back beam, and I need to attach that. I think I cut 5, but I think I want 7, so I'm going to cut another 2. I think I have enough Texolve to cut another 2. So it's starting to look more and more like a finished loom, and the only thing really left to do is to figure out how to securely brace the back beam on the right-hand side, the back beam to the castle. That's where that hinge bracket was missing. And Robert's idea is actually to maybe take off the hinge bracket on the other side and come up with the same metal piece for each side. He doesn't really want to do, he said, if you do one on one side and you leave the hinged one, it might not be even. Not size-wise, but rigidity. Because the hinged one is a little wiggly. And then if you made just a bracket on the other side or a brace or whatever, to hold it more, it would be more rigid. So I think that's what we're going to do. What he discovered that I didn't notice is that the width of the back, that back beam part, is a little bit more narrow than the width of the castle. And so the hinge that's on it actually has a little bend to it. Like it goes out and then it has a little elbow bend and then it goes straight again. And so he noticed that. I'm like, I think I can just use a board and put some nails in it and the nails go in the holes and it will be good. Yeah. And he's like, no, that's not going to work, Kelly, because it's not straight. It's not even. So, but he's thinking that he can do that bending and make those 2 pieces. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know how long it'll be. Okay. But I'm excited about how close it is to being ready to weave on. And then what else did I work on? Oh, I worked on the Wensleydale Cormo Merino that I was spinning at Knockers. And I got that skein finished, so that's done. And then I started a bunch of new projects. 3 new projects since last time. So one of them is I started spinning with thinking about the spin-in. Once I finished spinning that skein from Knockers, that was kind of, already in progress, I started one of my projects for this summer spin-in, and it's going to be the CVM that I was carding. I started back in November carding this CVM fleece. I dyed a little bit and then, dried it, carded it. I had to rewash some of it because it was sticky. So I was, I don't know if you remember, but I was, during the fall, like I would be out in the yard and I'd think, I'll put a dye pot together. So I was using up old dye stock. So I have blue, green, and red, and some that's mostly gray without a lot of dye. And I've been carding those bats since November. Well, I decided not to wait until they were all carded to start spinning. So I started spinning them. And I've got 2 bobbins finished already. And I'm going to have to card a little bit more before I do the 3rd bobbin, because I want to make sure that they're roughly similar. It's shades of like turquoise blue and green, and then blue green where they've been mixed together, and then there's a little bit of red in some of them. But I have the majority of it is blue and blue green. And so I want to make sure that I have enough of those 2 colors, that my 3rd bobbin is very, similar in colors to my first 2. And then I'm going to apply them together. They're not like, it's not like they're going to apply into stripes.
Right.
Because it's just, I'm randomly just grabbing one of the bats and pulling the strip off and spinning that whole strip. So pretty long color repeat. And then the colors are very close to each other. So I'm thinking it'll be kind of a tonal blue-green yarn, but I won't know for sure till it's plied, which is the exciting thing. I love that.
I know, that's the fun part.
So that's my spinning project that I'm planning for this summer, is to get all of that CVM that I've carded. I'm not sure how much it is in weight that I washed up and dyed, because I was doing it bit by bit and I wasn't adding it up. But I had 3 of those ream of paper boxes full of bats. So,
okay.
So it's a good amount of yarn, like a blanket maybe. I'm not sure what I'm going to make with it, but it's a good amount of yarn. And then I started a sock with the fireweed, the yarn that you bought me in Alaska.
Oh, right.
That is,
right.
The color is fireweed. Really pretty. I love the striping. I'm almost finished with the first sock. That's been besides the bears, that's been my car and winery knitting.
Okay.
And then the most fun thing that I've been doing is the tablet weaving.
Okay.
I spent about a week doing tablet weaving. I haven't done it in about, it was a lot, I stopped before last weekend because we went out of town. But I had thought about how I needed an armband for dog shows to put my number in. And I was going to buy one. And then I thought, I could make this. And then I thought, I know what I'll do. I'm going to weave the band that holds the thing together, because it's like plastic, a plastic armband that you slip your number into, clear plastic. And so I got my tablets and my cards for card weaving out, and I found a pattern. Linda Hendrickson has this pattern that has dog paws. It's for a leash. Her pattern is for a dog leash, but it has dog paws, and then it also has lowercase letters for, to put words on the leash, like the dog's name or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm using dog paws, and it took me a while to get the hang of this. This was a kind of an interesting project. It's a double weave band. So on one, let's see, where did it go? On one side, I started it with pink. Well, actually, I thought it was pink that kind of looked like a salmony pink, and a gray, that slate gray that you think looks like green in your towel. And so I did a practice one. Well, I didn't think it was going to be a practice one, but it was surprisingly hard. This is a surprisingly difficult project. And so I didn't like the way it looked, and I didn't like the color, and I kept making mistakes. And I finally thought, you know what? Maybe I won't make so many mistakes if I actually like the color. And I like the yarn. So I switched it out, and I made a new warp of green and brown, because that's the colors that I had of pearl cotton, which is the sort of shiny mercerized cotton. I like that a lot better than the sort of matte dish towel cotton that I was using. So anyway, it's been really fun. It's super interesting. I don't really understand how anyone invented this, because you have these cards that have 4 holes in them, and you thread the yarn through the holes, your warp yarn through the holes in these cards. And the pattern that I have uses, without the selvage edges, which I'm not using, it has 24 cards. And then you turn the cards in different directions. Sometimes turning them forward, sometimes turning them backwards. And that lifts up certain threads and pushes down other threads. And you weave back and forth. So the weft doesn't really show. The weft. Whatever you're using for a weft doesn't really show. It's called, this is called warp faced. So it's only the warp that's making the pattern. So my warp is brown and green, and where my green warp threads come up on one side and make the paw, on the other side, those green warp threads are down and they're the background. And the brown threads are making the paw. Anyway, fascinating. I don't know how anyone ever invented this idea of lifting these threads up and down, lifting them up or moving them down by turning cards sideways. Like anyway, it just kind of boggles my mind that anyone could invent this.
I'm silent here, Kelly, because I'm actually looking at your photograph on Ravelry, how you have it set up.
And it's super old. I mean, this is the kind of weaving that a lot of the people who are on the videos on YouTube they do. What is that? SCA, Society for Creative Anachronism. I mean, they're doing historical reenactment stuff, and of course, mine doesn't look very historical because because you have to have a way to clamp your project, to secure your project in front of you. And then you have to have a way to weight your yarn at the other end, right? So you have tension. So, various things have been used over time. There's backstrap looms where you put the yarn around your back, around a belt. You secure it to yourself with a belt, and you secure the other end somewhere else, and you lean back to make the tension. There's, you tension it by hanging weights from the warp. And that's what I've done. And then you probably saw Mary's loom at Knockers. Pat was weaving on it one day. Mary was weaving on it too, I think. And then Pat was using it one day. Hers has weights for every, so you weight every card. So like the 4 threads on every card have a weight hanging on them. And that's nice because those threads twist. As you turn the cards, the threads twist. And so if you weight each card separately, those threads can just untwist as you go. I don't have, I didn't have the patience to make a bunch of weights, finding washers and things. And I don't think I have 24 pill bottles because that's what I usually use, to weight threads. So I was waiting. Yeah. Another way to do it is to weight the whole warp all at once, which is what I was doing. And then, and then you just kind of scoot the twist out of it toward the back. And you should have seen, I don't know if you can tell from the picture what I'm using to weight it. Takes a surprising amount of weight. I was kind of shocked.
It looks like there's a clamp on there.
Yes,
is
I have
a clamp holding something to
So I have one of those. So there's clamps on the front that clamp my project. That keep my project at the front of the table, and then at the back of the table, the warp is hanging down, and I have a clamp to my warp, and then I have clamps clamped to the clamps. So I think I have 3 or 4 clamps, and then that wasn't enough. So then I went and got my pill bottle weights that I use, and I had a fishing weight that was heavy. So I put that in with a bunch of coins, and I have that hanging off, and that wasn't enough. So then I got a screwdriver And there was a loop in my warp thread, so I stuck the screwdriver through the loop in my warp thread to give it a little more weight. What a contraption, honestly. What a contraption.
I know.
But this is how people, I kept telling myself, this is what people did, right? They just had to use what they had to.
Yeah.
And, in those days, they didn't have clamps and fishing weights and screwdrivers, but this is what I had when I was out in the garage. So, and then then I would just unclamp it from that table, and I brought it into the house, and I set it up in the house one evening and, set it up on a different table. I set it up on a different table in the studio for a while, but that was a little cramped. That table is a little small. So I liked it better weaving outside with the other table.
Mm-hmm.
But super fun. I need to get back to it because I need another length of paw prints to make my armband, and then I'm going to do the names of the dogs because we bought another crate for Barry, so we have 2 portable cloth crates now, so we don't have to lug the wire crate, and they're both purple, but I want to have his name on his and her name on hers, so that's the next phase of that project, the tablet weaving. Anyway, I've done tablet weaving a long, long time ago. I never made a specific pattern. I just kind of played around. I had instructions. I don't know where they are or where they came from. It's so long ago, I don't remember. It was over 20 years ago. So I didn't really remember anything. And I did a lot of things wrong because I did not understand the directions in the pattern. Yeah. And so it took me a few days to actually be able to make the pattern that I was supposed to be making. And also it took me some time once I realized how I needed to do it and what the instructions were telling me to do. It took me a surprisingly long time to remember everything that I had to do. Like I would turn the cards and then I would forget to put and I would beat and I would forget to put the shuttle through.
Yeah.
And it's hard to undo. It's very hard for me being new at it, like with anything. When you start knitting, it's hard to unknit. It's very hard to unweave this to undo a mistake. And so the fact that I got seven mostly correct dog paws was like, woohoo! This is a success. So now I have to warp again.
So I'm looking at the picture of the cards, like set up how many cards do you have to make that paw?
24.
Looks like a lot.
Yeah, it's 24. 24
did you
cards.
say that?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But yeah, this particular pattern, actually the pattern as designed takes 30 cards because you have 3 on either side that are your selvage, so like a border. But I didn't make the border. Okay. I just made the paws. Because the border you have to do differently from everything else. It's like a separate pattern. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to be mentally challenged just in doing it's going to be enough of a challenge just to do the actual pattern. And then to add a border on top of that is going to be hard. Yeah. And I had my set only had 25 cards. So I did make the rest of the cards. So I have 30. And I may do the borders on the dogs' names. But for the dog paws, for my first project, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to use the cards that I have and not my homemade cards and see if I can get the hang of this. So it was very challenging, I have to say. Very challenging.
Well, it looks challenging.
Yeah. I mean, it's
just looking
the idea is
it looks
the idea is simple. but my fingers, I mean, like, again, being a novice, that's something you remember all the ways that things are, all the ways that things don't quite work the way you expect. Like, I couldn't make my fingers like gather the cards, because you have to like gather 4 on this side and 4 on that side and pull them to you, and take 6 in the middle there and push them away from you, and like, oh my God, my fingers didn't even work to gather the cards together. And then once I had done all that, it's like, okay, good. Now I got it ready. I'm going to beat. Okay, good. Now go on to the next one. And I'd forget to throw the shuttle. Like, I wouldn't even pass the shuttle through. Like, okay, this is just ridiculous. Why can't I remember all the parts? But like, I would think so hard about turning the cards that I would forget the other part. Yeah. It was, I mean, I was getting a little frustrated, but it was also fun.
Really? No, I'm joking. I think sometimes when we talk about these projects like the weaving, I was, talking about it, that people like, oh my God, why are you doing that? Because you're learning. And sometimes, as we were talking about, not sometimes, always, I think, when we learn new things, it's not always a fast project or an easy project because we're learning, right? And so the next, it'll, as you keep doing this, it's going to get easier and easier, but learning is, even though it's difficult, and you're learning, that doesn't mean you're not having fun.
Right.
Learning is fun. Even though there's problems, it's fun.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, there's a point where is like things start to go right, it's really exciting. Yeah. In teaching, we call it productive struggle. You have to struggle with something for a while in order for that learning to happen. And then when it happens, it's really rewarding. So, yeah. Anyway, I think that is all of my projects.
Okay.
How about you?
All right. Okay. I'm going to start with positive stuff first.
Okay. Good.
I finished, let's see, I finished 2 projects.
Woo!
So the socks I was working on, the Wisdom Yarns Wacki Saki that I bought. You bought the same yarn, different colorway when we went to the reunion in Walla Walla. I finished those socks, and I finished a spinning project. I had bought 2 braids at Rhinebeck in October. A company called Into the Whirled, WHIRLED is how it's spelled, and 2 colorways, Welcome to Litchfield and The Traveler, and one was just all grays, and the other one was gray and orange. And so I just spun each braid separately and plied them together, and I have, about 575 yards of about fingering weight yarn, maybe a little bit heavier.
It turned out really pretty.
I think it's very pretty. It's very subtle, which is kind of nice because I seem to do a lot of combo spins that are bright, and so it's kind of nice to do something kind of subtle. And what I would like to do, I think, because I'm always the kind of person I want to use up all the yarn, on a project. I haven't made a shawl in a really long time, and I thought it might be kind of nice to make a scarf or a shawl or something like this. So I've been looking at patterns. I haven't decided on anything yet, but anyway, and then I cast on another pair of socks. I had just deep dive stash yarn. It was Patons Kroy sock in the colorway Blue Striped Ragg, and it's sort of a it's like rag yarn, the
marled
2 colors, kind of heathered or whatever, marled, and stripes. So like the stripes are about, I don't know, let me look at this, 4 rows, I think. So they're about a 1/4 inch or so, maybe a little more than a 1/4 inch. And then with about the 4 rows in, so it's evenly striped, like gray. Then it goes like red, gray, navy blue, gray, light blue, gray, a yellow, which kind of disappears, but in kind of a pumpkin-y gold color, and then a red. But I have to say about these socks, because I did not look at the yardage. And so I just assumed a ball of sock yarn would be enough to make a pair of socks. But it's only 160 yards. So I know, and so I thought, oh, that's really weird. So I went back and I started looking at projects, and everybody who made socks like I'm making, which, the leg is about 7 inches, and then the foot, they all put in a contrasting yarn for the heel and the toe. And then people who did not made kind of short socks, shorty ones, footies, that kind of thing. So I just went down into Stash, and I sent you a picture of stuff I found, and you suggested I use the red. And I'm also using up the deep Stash, because the red I'm using is, I put a note here, it's Cloudborn Fibers Superwash Sock Twist that I think we got at the Craftsy booth.
Oh, yes.
At Stitches one year. It was a giveaway. If you signed up for a Craftsy account or something, they gave you this little mini skein. And so I don't have the yardage now. I can't remember now what it is. So I'm putting that in. I sent you the photograph. It's not an exact match for the red. So the red that's in the stripe is kind of, I said to you, it's sort of like Campbell's tomato soup color. And then, but the Cloudborn is kind of a Christmas red.
Yeah.
So it doesn't match exactly, but if I just look at it, it's fine. And
I think it looks good.
It's gonna be in my shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it looks good. So,
it's a good example of how you don't necessarily need to have the exact match of color, especially since there's, the stripes are small. I mean, there are red stripes. There's definitely red stripes in there, but it's not about the red going with the red. It's more about...
Yeah. And when you hold it away, it looks good. If you actually look at it up close, you realize, oh, those colors don't match. But, it all, when you look at it from a distance, it looks totally fine. And as I said, it will be in my shoe.
Right.
See it, really. Anyway, and then I started another spinning project, and this is the combo spin that Pat Eisner had left in the D-stash room at Knockers. It's just shy of 19 ounces. Excuse me, I'm very hoarse today, croaky. And so she had prepped it. I went through and made the pieces a little bit smaller. And so I have spun 2 skeins, and it's probably worsted weight.
Nice.
And I have about 660 yards. And now the fiber that's left over, I need to separate out and weigh my bobbins and try, because I don't want to, I don't think I have enough fiber to fill all 3 bobbins full. So I need to, you know what I'm doing? I have to figure out how much I need to put on each bobbin so I can kind of end up so they'll all sort of end at the same time. You know what I mean? And then the other thing too, I didn't realize, but there was in the bag of yarn, there was a separate little bag of fiber that some of it was in the combo spin, but there's a whole roll or a bunch of it that was not in the combo spin. And now I'm kind of wondering, I think I'm just going to throw it in. Do you think it's going to be a problem that I've done 660 yards with hardly any of that color in there, and now I'm going to throw it in? Or do you think?
No, I think that would be okay.
There's not that much. And then I thought, even if I was to knit a sweater out of this stuff, I probably would be alternating skeins anyway. So
right. I think that
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah. So just to see.
Well,
what
and
happens.
even if you didn't,
it'll probably be fine.
even if you didn't alternate skeins, like it would just kind of grade the color a little. It would just be like a kind of like a gradient, and it probably would be a real subtle gradient. Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. Is it that purple? I'm looking at your project.
It's very subtle. It's like it's a very it's almost like the roving has like stripes of color in it, and they're all very muted colors.
Okay.
So kind of like a sage green and kind of a soft red, and very soft.
Okay.
So it's not like it's all like purple or hot pink or something. It's very muted. So I think it'll be okay.
Oh yeah, that'll be nice.
Because I don't really know. I actually have not weighed. So I have, as I say, I have 660 yards. I've not weighed how many grams that is or ounces, but I'm not sure. I think 18. Well, it's 18 and a half ounces what I weighed all the yarn or all the fiber. I think that's enough for a sweater quantity.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. But I think I'm going to throw that in.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
So that's what I've been doing. And then weaving studio, nothing's happened down there. It's just keeping it on the list because I have to go down there and work on it. And as I said before, I'm not going to worry about getting it too organized. I just want to get another project on the loom. But nothing's happened because I've been a little busy. So I will just say my brother left. So we're recording on Sunday. This is the 22nd, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, here's my computer. I always do this. Anyway, a week ago, Friday, he left for California, his new home in California, loaded up the car, drove down there. His friend Gary decided to join him, and Gary came home, I think, yesterday. And so he's down there, and I have to say a little shocked by the heat because the day they arrived, it was 114. And I was telling you this before, Kelly, that... he knows it's going to be hot down there. But when I went down in March, because he bought the house, it was sold to him furnished, and he doesn't want the previous owner's furniture. So we had pulled all that out and put it in the garage. And we did not have time for the thrift store to come and get it while we were there. So the thrift store is coming next Wednesday to get all the furniture. In the meantime, he can't get his car in the garage. And... it's very hot, 114 outside, right? So it gets even hotter inside the car. So he did order a car cover, a reflective car cover to try and keep it cooler. But before it arrived, it was so hot that his windshield cracked.
Oh my gosh.
And his neighbor said he saw his car sitting out there and he thought, I need to go tell him that if your car sits outside, you have to lower the windows a little bit to let the heat build up out.
So the pressure.
So he didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he's got the car cover, and the temperature's dropped. I noticed today it's 100, I think, or 99, but I mean, still hot. So Wednesday, hopefully Wednesday, he'll be able to get this coming Wednesday, he'll get his car in the garage. But stuff, in the Northwest, we don't think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the things you don't know when you come from one climate to another. Like, I didn't know you had to heat your car. Like, when I first started working for Mrs. Fitzgerald in Walla Walla, and she said she had to plug her car in. I was like, what? Yeah. Because she had a heater for the radiator, I guess. Anyway, stuff you don't know about the climate you don't live in.
Yeah. So anyway, but it was his house is on the market. There's been a bunch of open houses and viewings. No offers yet, but it hasn't been very long. And I've been going in there and watering the pots and making sure the fountain is filled with water and making sure, because he does have a problem sometimes, the raccoons, and use his fountain as a jacuzzi and knock over the fountain. So then it starts pumping water out of the fountain. So I've been checking on that. And, but anyway, so it's on the market, and, he's down there, and it's only been a week, but then this week I've been really busy. And, so I did go, I'm going to get back. I still have more projects to talk about, but I would say what I did this week, though, is I did go up to the Fiber Fusion up in Monroe. And I did, of course,
I had forgotten about that.
Yes. And I would say, I have no reason to go. Like, no possible reason should I be going up there. But I did buy some fiber, and I brought it here to talk about it because it's interesting. It's the woman who makes it. Her company is called Sheridan Flats, and she is she's in Enumclaw, Washington, and this is the fiber that I bought. It's 80% sheep's wool, 15% mohair, and 6% silk. And the sheep's wool is Wensleydale, Finn, and Gotland.
Oh, wow.
And it's a really beautiful. And it's blue, and there's some purple, and a little bit of like limey green in there, and really, really beautiful. And she was fun because she had spun it, and then and had knitted little swatches, so you could see what it looked like. And when it knits up, it's sort of like if you can imagine like denim jeans, but if they had a bit of a sheen to them, and I don't know. It was really beautiful. So I bought, because I don't buy anything. I don't buy 4 ounces, Kelly.
Yes.
So I bought 24 ounces. Because but anyway, the other thing I wanted to say about her, though, is I thought the way she had her booth, the way she had all the fiber displayed was beautiful. So when it comes off the mill, it makes these it's like a spirograph, like keeps making these circles around and around and around, like a big circle that's a whole bunch of smaller circles, kind of spirals. And then in these big canvas bags. And I said, first of all, the fiber is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful colors. And I said, I really love how she had all this displayed. And she said, oh yes, she said, the processor is in Cosmopolis, Washington.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, anyway, it's oh shoot. Now I looked it up now. Isn't it called Olympic
fiber?
Yeah. So remember we went, and she used to be just near Montesano, Washington, and it was in her house, and she had the mill set up. And and remember, then we had lunch with her, and then we went to Cosmopolis to look at the new, she'd bought a building in Cosmopolis where she was moving the mill, and she's getting new equipment from Italy. Anyway, this is the woman, she processed this fiber.
Oh.
So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
That was, I was going to buy it anyway, and then that was just like the icing on the cake that, because remember, we were
it was so
fascinated
interesting. Yeah.
by her. Yeah. Yeah. And she had developed her own, because she's, let me finish. She developed her own scouring method and solution for scouring, because remember, she was like a PhD in chemistry or something. And so she had developed her own solution, but she would not divulge what was in it, which I get, but that it was more environmentally friendly and did a better job. So anyway, so that was just interesting to get that fiber. And so I think as soon as I finish the combo spin, I'm going to start spinning that, because it really is just really beautiful. Anyway, I've just been busy. And then I went, I just had stuff I was just cleaning up, because my brother left a lot of stuff here at the house, which got separate. It has to go out of the house. So I've been getting that organized to go. And then I went hiking one day, which was really fun, just to go hiking. Mm-hmm. And then, Friday, I went over to Yakima to the Association of Northwest Weavers Guilds, the ANWG show, and I think it's 4 days long, and it's really what you do is you sign up and you go for the 4 days, and there's all these classes, and I just went for the marketplace, and I did buy more cotton yarn for weaving at Eugene Textiles. And I did buy a braid for spinning also at Eugene Textiles. And it's Cheviot. Have you ever spun Cheviot?
Mm-hmm, I have. I don't remember. I can't really remember, but it's kind of a medium type wool. Kind of bouncy.
It's not, yes, it's very poofy and bouncy. And it's not coarse, but it's not soft like merino.
Yeah.
Like I think you could make a yarn, like you could have it against your skin. You could make a hat or a sweater or something. And I think this is an 8-ounce braid. But I just thought I've never spun it. And then the colors are, I sent you a picture of the colors.
Yeah.
This reminds me of the two Knit Lit chicks when they talk about, isn't like lime green,
that poison, green, yeah.
Like is a neutral. Mm-hmm. I'm calling this a neutral. It's hot pink and lime.
Yeah, it's nice.
And, in fact, there was when I was paying for it. I paid for it, and then I walked away, and there was this gentleman sitting in a chair, holding the bags for his wife while she was shopping. And he said to me, he made a comment about the color. He said, "That's not navy blue." I said, "No, it's not." And then, but I just wanted to I made a note here. I wanted to just go back to what you were talking about, the tablet weaving. Mm-hmm. And it reminded me is that at the show, they had a room set up where they had people's weaving projects and clothing that they had made. So all kinds of shawls, and someone made a dress, like a very interesting things. And some of them, they were all submitted by the different guilds, and they had won prizes. And the ribbons, of course, are hand woven.
Oh,
and it
that is so
I thought,
cool.
That's brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, of course they have to be hand woven if it's a weaving show, right?
Yes. That's very clever.
Yeah.
I like that.
So, anyway, and then I have one project that I have not talked about. And Kelly, can you imagine what it is that I haven't talked about?
No.
The Weekender.
Oh, yes. I scrolled down. I wasn't looking at the show notes. Yes. What about your Weekender, Marsha?
Well, I have it. It's listed in the show notes as under project is my first thing, but I haven't talked about it. So, I have to. I'm laughing too because we did have a listener who said, "Oh, for God's sake!" That's not exactly what she said, but basically it's like, for God's sakes, just finish it. Yes, I'm totally with you on all of this. Everybody, just finish it. I have finished the sleeves. I had to make them a little bit longer, and I've bound off, so the sleeves are done. The last thing I have to do is just I had to take the stitches off the waist yarn, and let me just say the neckline, the front neckline is done. The back neckline, I had the stitches on waist yarn, and I tried so hard yesterday to try and finish it, but I was involved in another project for a friend. So this morning, I thought I have to do something on that sweater before we record, and I put the stitches, I took them off the waist yarn, and I put them on needles.
Yay!
So that's because I have to get that done. But I've been so busy with my brother, mm-hmm. and then yesterday I'm going to a graduation party today, and I had to make 2 cakes to bring, and I just did not get it done yesterday. So I'm hoping tonight after the party I can just come back. And I will say about my brother too, so much talking every time you have to sew that, it's a sewn mm-hmm. bind off, and I have to do it with no distractions, and so much talking, so much TV watching, so much work that sometimes at his house, I'd be so tired by the time I got home. I wasn't in the mindset to do something like that. So I swear I'm going to finish that thing because I want it off. I want it done, and I want to start another sweater, and I cannot start another sweater until I finish that, because if I do, I will never finish it. So, and I think what I'm going to cast on is I sent you this a link to this pattern. It's called Spacetime 18, and the designer Heidi Kermeyer. And I think what my plan is, I want to use the combo spin I did last summer spin in. Mm-hmm. And it's the one that I used kind of pink and green braids. And it's, I sent you a picture of the swatch that I made.
Yeah, and it's pretty.
It's really pretty. So it's not a gradient, but it's forming very subtle transitions from pink to green and then back to pink to green. And I think it'd be really interesting. Normally when I do it, I knit with a combo spin. or any of my hand spun, I alternate skeins to make it blend even more, because I don't like a combo spin where when you knit it up and it has these really definite stripes.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one is going to be real. I really want to do it just with knit with one ball of yarn and let that color just change as it changes, and to see what it looks like. I think it'll be, I'm going to try that. If I don't like it, I'll rip it out.
Well,
but I'm going to try that.
And the thing that you can do too is you can do that. And then if you find some, awkward splotch happening, you can just take the second ball and alternate for a little while, just to kind of break up that, just to break up the awkward, a place where there's an awkward splotch, as you go down the yoke, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have,
and of course, what I do know about combo spins too, or any kind of yarn, that if it looks one way on the body, right? And first of all, it's a top down, the pattern. Yeah. So it's going to look one way on the neck, and then it's going to start changing as it gets to the body, and then it'll look completely different on the sleeves, right? Because sleeves are a smaller tube than the body. Yeah. So it'll.
And I think this sweater, sort of like the Weekender, from the standpoint that it's not well, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm looking at the project page and it's a woman in jeans. I mean, it's really like a sweatshirt.
Right.
The style of the sweater is sort of sweatshirt style. And I think there's not that many projects, but I don't envision this being the type of sweater where you would feel like you really needed to make sure stripes didn't happen, and you needed to make sure that the colors, did everything exactly the way you wanted it. It'll be like a nice canvas to show off the yarn.
Because there's no patterning on it at all, and there is ribbing, and it's like I don't know why, because I haven't actually purchased the pattern yet, but just looking at the photograph, there's like you can do the neck and the bottom a couple different ways. The one I kind of like is where you have ribbing at the bottom, but it looks like it's like a 1x4 rib.
And a broken rib. Probably. I'm guessing.
Yeah. I need to buy the pattern and really look at it. And then the collar is interesting, because I was debating about this, but the collar is sort of like a what do you call it? Is that like funnel?
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of a collar, but it's loose and it kind of stands up. I don't know how to describe that.
Yeah, it's a short, like, funnel neck. It's not like, some of them are like turtle, like a funnel that goes all the way up, like a turtleneck kind of. Yeah. It's not like that. But it's not at all separate from the yoke. The yoke just blends into it. It's not like a band.
And it's quite open too. So because I don't want anything, I don't want like a real turtleneck that's tight around your, I say tight, but fitted around your neck. I think I would be miserable in that. But this, it seems like it would be comfortable.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I'm kind of thinking of making.
No, I think that would be pretty.
And I think that's it for me for projects.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. I'm still thinking of weaving. I've got, goodness knows, I now have a lot of cotton yarn for tea towels.
Well, that's good. What color did you get when you were at Eugene Textile?
I got orange, hot pink, lime green.
Oh, good.
And navy.
A good set of neutrals.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then it's that same 8, I think it's the 8-2 cotton from Eugene Textile. Center, and they're $12, and you get like 1,600 yards on them. Seems like, and I think is it Maurice
Broussard?
Is that who it is? I can't. Yeah. So they're just, and I just thought, it's nice just to have. I am not a skilled enough weaver that I can just go look at the cones of yarn and go, oh, that's what I'm going to make, and this is how much I need. I'm not there yet, so I just bought 2 of each color.
Yeah, that's good.
So I don't know what I'm going to do, but at least I have sort of a paint box now, so to speak.
Right. Well, and that's the thing in weaving
I can choose from.
Is often you're just adding a stripe to something, or putting in a couple of threads of what Jane Stafford calls a zinger.
Yeah.
And so, it doesn't take a whole cone. Or then you might decide, what happens if I make the whole weft of this towel, now that I've got this warp? What if I make the whole weft of this towel this color? And then you would use up a good amount of it. But a lot of times in weaving, you're just using up a little small amounts. So, yeah, I'm excited to get back to weaving the chenille rug, but I'm thinking I want to use the sidewalk loom for that, and so I need to wait, but which is fine because I have plenty of other things to get done. I'm thinking about, I have a whole giant bag full of cotton that I've spun. Some of it I spun on my wheel, but a lot of it are singles that I spun on the great wheel. And so there are these little paper, they're called perns. You wrap the paper around the spindle, and then you weave onto the paper, and then you just slide that all off and it's like a nice, it's like a nice little bobbin, right? And then I have, and then what I never thought of when I was weaving it is you can just slide that onto the bobbin that, the bobbin that goes in your shuttle. And I had bought a shuttle that specifically fits the wire, sort of like hanger wire, about that size, bobbins or spindles for my charka. So I've got, my charka is full. All those spindles are full of yarn. And those can just be popped into a shuttle. I've got all those paper perns of yarn that can just go right onto right into the shuttle, like a bobbin. And so I was like, okay, I would really like to weave something where I use up all that cotton. Just and it's all different colors, and all different natural colors. It's like, okay, that would be kind of fun to do. So that's in my head, to do some more cotton spinning and to do some cotton weaving. But then my other weaving is the chenille rugs. So, but I've got 2 looms now. I can put stuff. Well, actually, I have the table loom too. I could put something on the table loom. I could put something on the clerk. I don't think I can have the 2 big looms, the 2 floor looms, going at the same time, though. I don't really have enough room for that. One of them has to be folded up. I mean, you can fold it up with a project. The Leclerc, you can fold up with a project on it. But one of them has to be folded up. You could move
the furniture in the living room. I
could. I think that's a little bit too far for Robert. We had the big loom, the real big loom in the living room for a while. And
there's he's sort of drawn an invisible line from the studio to the living room, and you can't cross that invisible line. Right?
Yeah. Well, and actually when the pandemic started, because that was when we started getting together. I don't know if it was the Knockers group or the Two Knitlet Chicks group, or maybe it was both. Anyway, I started going on their Zoom call. And I remember being on the Zoom call at the beginning of the pandemic with my loom in the living room. Probably because the studio was full of stuff because of some other thing that was happening in the house where things had to move. You know, that studio has been used for swing space so many times. So I have had both loom, you know, I have had an active loom in the living room and a inactive naked loom in the living room. But yeah, Robert would really prefer for me to stay in my space. Yeah. Which is, I mean, honestly, it's a lot of space. I've got the studio. I've got the entire sunroom. I've got a loom in the spare bedroom, or a spinning wheel. The great wheel is in the spare bedroom. So it's not like, it's not like I'm being restricted.
Right.
The only restriction is like not to spill out my mess into the living room. And weaving is messy. When I weave, it's messy.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, a project on the loom looks really pretty, and I had this idea of, I could have the loom in the living room and a project on it, and it would be so pretty. But I've got lint all over from the weaving. I've got little threads all over from the weaving. Weaving is messy. At least my weaving. I've got paper that falls off the back beam as I'm weaving. That's all over the place behind the loom. So anyway.
Yeah. That's why it's kind of nice that mine's in the basement in a room. I can just shut the door and not look at it, you know. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I've been debating if I should just do another set of tea towels and just practice that, or if I should do the rugs. And I thought, I just want to do those rugs. I'm really fascinated, so I'm just...
Yeah, that's what I think you should do.
I'm just doing the rugs.
Warping them will be really fast, too, because the set will be wide, and weaving them will be really fast because the weft is thick. It's just the preparation.
And I have to... this will be a conversation that we'll have for the winter weave along, but I have to sort of decide how I want to do I have to read up about how to warp it. Like, I don't even know, like, because I was thinking if you just do like one thread, and if that breaks while you're using it, not while you're weaving it, but like you make this rug and you have one thread and it breaks, it could kind of destroy the whole rug, right? So do you put in like your the chenille rug that you're making? When you're making the chenilles, you actually had 8 threads together in a group. So when you do a rag rug, is it just one warp thread every, I don't know, 4 dents, 8 dents, I don't know, but like, or do you put a group of them together and then a space? I don't know. I think it depends.
I think people have done both. You should look at Kathy's denim rug project.
Okay.
And see how she did her warp. Because the other thing is the way you warp, the color order that you use, you can actually get some of the design coming from your warp threads, where you can weave for a while where all the, like in one stripe, all the top threads, the top threads are all like light blue. And then you can have right next to it where all the top threads are dark blue. And then you can like do a tabby pick and of just like a regular weft, like a thread or something, or a yarn. Anyway, you can like jog that order so that now the next time you do it, all of your top threads in the stripe are dark blue, where it was all the top threads were light blue. You know what I mean? Because in tabby you have
right.
Anyway, well, maybe that won't work on that would be more complicated than what I'm thinking of would be probably more complicated than a 4 shaft. My point, I guess my point is that depending on how the color order you use when you thread them, you can get some effects.
Right.
Like striped effects.
Well, I just have white or just natural colored cotton, which.
Oh, for your warp. Okay. Yeah, that's probably good for this project, because it's your not towels. It's your sheets that are providing the color.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I've been when I went to Fiber Fusion, there was a woman there who was selling hand woven rugs, and I was looking at that, and sometimes some of them the warp threads showed, and sometimes they didn't show. And then, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but I did buy some more sheets. The ones I had were very sort of teal and white, subtle colors. And I thought, I want some hot colors. So I went to the Goodwill again, and I bought, I realized that sheets are more neutral, but duvet covers are usually really bright colors.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So I got 3. Yeah, it's interesting. So I got 3 duvet covers that are really, really bright.
Nice.
Like hot pink and red and yellow. And so my thought was I want something kind of bright. But my other thing I have to read about is, when you cut the sheets or your fabric into strips, and some people just weave with the strips like that.
Yeah. And
one woman, I was watching a video, and she was talking about how there's all these random threads sticking out. She hated that. I'm not that particular. And then I was watching another one where they actually put the fabric strips through a bias tape maker, and pressed it and then stitched all of them. I don't think that's necessary. But then the woman I saw at Fiber Fusion that was selling the rug, she said she just cuts them into strips and weaves. And there did not seem to be a million little threads sticking out. 1 or 2, not bad. So, and she said she hadn't cut anything off. So I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
Well, each of those are different looks.
I think about it when I spin.
It depends on what look you want. And you could do all 3.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see that project, but I know that'll be a little while.
Yeah, that's gonna be probably more of a,
because this is not the time of year that you want to sit in the basement and weave.
No, but what I can do is I could just bring the sewing machine out on the deck, and I could just get my strips ready. That's the other thing I could be doing.
Yeah.
I want to go back to spinning, though, and I have a question, because when we took the spinning class over on Vashon Island, the way we wound the bobbins was with we would just put the
weaving.
Use a drill.
Oh wait, so you're talking about weaving, not spinning?
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that right?
Yes, I'm going back.
Okay,
it's another weaving question.
I was trying to think when you took a spinning class. Okay.
No, I'm completely wrong. It's the weaving class.
Okay.
And I think because I have a question about bobbins, and I think that's why maybe I thought of spinning. But when we took the weaving class, what they had us do is just winding the bobbins on a drill. So you just have a bit in the drill, and I bought a bit for my drill that fits the bobbin, and that's how I've been winding my bobbins. You never use that. You actually have the bobbin winder.
No,
right?
no.
And
I have a hand mixer. I've used a drill when I was weaving out in the garage, because I had my floor loom out in the garage for a while, the Leclerc. And when I was weaving outside, I would use Robert's drill because it was there. And he has one that's too big. It's hard for me to hold it. And it's hard for me to hold it in one hand and squeeze the thing. It's not designed for my size of hands. But then he had another one, and I used his drill. But when I'm in the house, and I really like it better, I have a hand mixer. And I have a variety of things, but one of the things that I've used is a chopstick. And you know how they get thicker as they go out? So I use the small end of the chopstick goes in the hole of the hand mixer. I put the bobbin on, and I just kind of, these are the kind of chopsticks that break apart, that you get at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And so I just take the bobbin and I shove it up the chopstick to the wide end, and it just sticks in there because it just presses up. It's just friction. And and then I put this skinny end into the hole in the hand mixer, and I just use the hand mixer. But now I have I use chopstick, but I found another stick. I think it was a stick that was inside of a plant, like an orchid, holding the blossom up. So I have that now that I've cut to length, and I actually use blue painter tape to make the end stopper that I, shove the kind of friction fit the bobbin up against the blue painter tape at the end. And I use that. And it was a little too skinny to fit into the hole of the mixer. So I just put blue painter tape on the skinny end, and that made it thick enough to shove it into the end, the hole in the hand mixer. I just use a hand mixer. Worked great.
Okay.
I mean, you can certainly buy a bobbin winder. They make really nice ones. They're expensive, I think, but.
Well, I know. And so that they're very expensive. And that's why when I went to Eugene Textiles, whenever it was, I was there in February, and then I was there on the trip down to Knockers and to see you. They have them for sale, and they're expensive. And I just am using the drill. The thing about the drill is it goes really fast, right? I mean, you can control the speed of your drill, but I just go full high speed.
Yeah. No, you want to go slower.
Which means, okay, well, I'm full speed, just want to wind that bobbin. And I probably need to change that. And I was wondering, with the hand crank bobbin winders, you can only go so fast, right? Because, and so is that better? It's clearly better to go at a slower speed when you're winding your bobbins, because then you get a more even bobbin, right? And the more even your bobbin, and I have been reading, let me just finish my statement. The more even your bobbin is, probably the easier it is to weave. It's not twisting back on itself. And because I sometimes have that problem. And I have read, how you load the bobbin, like the illustration about, you make it kind of concave and then start filling that in. And I try to do that with the, so I think really what I'm getting from this conversation, Kelly, is I don't need to spend the money on a bobbin winder. I just need to control myself on the drill.
Yeah.
And not go full blast.
If I were going to buy a bobbin winder, I would buy an electric bobbin winder, not a hand crank bobbin winder. But I think, I don't go above the lowest speed on the hand mixer, which I have no idea how that compares to the drill. But I do try to go evenly across as much as possible.
Okay.
And, and kind of fill the bobbin methodically. But I haven't really noticed. I mean, sometimes I get out alignment and I make bumps, and then I feel, and then I just keep going, and I haven't noticed. I mean, I think you could do some things that would make it really difficult for your bobbin to unwind, especially if you were holding it really tight and then loose and tight and loose, and some of those threads were like sinking down into the other ones, as opposed to filling, just filling layers on the top. But I also, so I think you're right. How you fill the bobbin matters, but only to a point. If you're just using like A2 cotton. Now, if you're using, super, super fine silk or linen, then you probably need a better you probably need to pay attention to your technique a lot more. But I think it's pretty forgiving if what you're using is, 8-2, 10-2, dish towel type threads. Because I don't wind bobbins perfectly, but I also don't just like throw it on there.
Right.
But I guess I'm thinking about like the diminishing returns for bobbin winding perfection. There's a point where you care about your technique, and then after that is like, how important is it if what you're doing is working? How important is it to do it even better than that? I don't know. But again, linen, weaving with that linen, the stiff linen, was different. I was a little bit more careful with my bobbins, and I, used water to try to keep it softer. And I've never used really super fine yarns. So I'm not making, Irish linen, handkerchiefs.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
But hand mixers,
I mean,
great.
mine are pretty even. Yeah. Well, and I say mine are pretty even. And what I do is I put the cone on I say cones, but they're straight. No,
spools.
they're not cone-shaped, but spools. Okay. And I just put them on I take one of the Lazy Kate that I bought that goes with the e-spinner. I just put it on that and one of them, and just have that below the drill. And then I just hold my hand on the yarn. I apply some pressure so it creates more of an even tension. It's not just randomly flying off and going on there. But I don't know. I just noticed that there's ball winders for sale. There's been a lot. I'm sorry, not ball winders. Bobbin winders for sale, and used equipment too. And I was just wondering if it was something I should think about. But I think after this conversation, I think I'm fine with my drill. I just need to control myself and not consider it a sports car.
Yes. And if you have enough...
I'm driving a Ford Fiesta.
Yes. And one of the things that I did, I mean, we talked about this before. I was tempted to wind more bobbins before I started so I could just keep weaving and not have to get up and wind a bobbin. But I decided I needed to just get up. Every once in a while, I need to get up. So I resisted that urge. But that's another thing you can do is keep, have more bobbins wound. So you don't feel that like, oh, I got to get this bobbin wound so I can get back to my weaving. And just do a bobbin winding session. So... Well, I think we're going to need to call this the double episode.
We're making up for
the missed,
a month without recording. I don't even know what time we're at now.
An hour and 45 minutes almost.
Oh my!
An hour and 40 minutes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I can't even believe that.
This is our longest episode ever. I'm not even going to edit. I'm just going to throw it up there on the.
Oh my gosh! That's terrible.
Well, people can listen to it in two sessions or more.
Okay, well then let's just quickly say the summer spinning is going on in case we didn't say it before.
Yes.
I had no idea, Kelly. We were so long.
Yeah. Until September.
Summer spinning underway.
Yep.
Yeah, September 1st. So... hand spun, you can spin yarn, you can knit with hand spun, you can buy hand spun and knit with it, or
wash
you
fleece.
Can prep stuff for wash fleece. You can card anything for the summer spin in. So, well, I guess with that we should get off the phone and let people get back to their lives.
Yes. Okay. Well, and you have a party to go to.
People do have lives. I have to finish decorating cakes, and it's not all about us, Kelly.
That's right.
People have lives.
That's right.
Okay. Well, I always say let's talk in 2 weeks, and let's actually talk in 2 weeks. Let's not wait a month.
That's a good idea. Okay.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for Whirled Fleece.